So guys, so before getting into this, so I would like to let you know the ground rules for this webinar. So all the attendees are in listen only mode. Okay, so when a new attendee joins, so they will be in listen only mode. So however, if you have any questions, so we have a quick Q&A box there in this Zoho meeting session, so you can just type in your questions. So we will try to answer to your questions. If not by today, so we will drop a mail to you by tomorrow. So we'll try to answer it in the chat itself. So if you're not able to answer your questions, so we'll send it to you the reply by an email. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, and this webinar is being recorded. So you can get the recorded copy of this webinar in 48 hours in the Vembu website. You just go to the Vembu website, go to the resource section. So here in the resource section, so you can see the recorded webinars. Okay, so with that, so let's get started. Yeah, so before getting into this, so I'd like to give a small introduction about the Vembu technologies. So we are the company founded in the year 2002, and we are headquartered in US. Okay, so we have the operations like the development and other operations are happening from India. So we currently set our footprint over 100 plus countries, and we have 60,000 plus businesses using Vembu to protect their business critical data. Okay, and the topic for today's webinars is a sneak peek into Vembu BDR Suite version 5.0. So it has been a year we started working on this 5.0. So over the last few versions, so we focus more on delivering a comprehensive backup and disaster recovery software to the users, and this is more witnessed in this version 5.0. So yeah, so we'll just get into the agenda for today's webinar. So we'll see what's new in the version 5.0. Okay, first, so I'm just going to give a small introduction about the Vembu BDR suite of products. And the second is like I'm going to let you know the key features, and which is followed by the features and enhancement that is coming in version 5.0. And yeah, at the last, we are going to give a small demonstration of how 5.0 works. Okay, so this webinar is going to be in two parts. The first half I'm going to take, so I'm just going to explain you the new features that are coming in version 5.0. So this is going to be a small presentation, and after this I'm just going to hand over this session to Mr. Pranav. So Pranav will give a demonstration of how Vembu BDR Suite works. So this is the agenda for this today's webinar. Okay, so we'll get started. So yeah, so primarily there are two products in Vembu. The first one is the Vembu BDR Suite. So Vembu BDR Suite is a portfolio of product designed to back up the diverse IT environment, whether it is a physical or virtual. So Vembu BDR Suite is designed to cater the business requirement of any size of business. Okay, so it is primarily designed for the on-premise storage. For a user who want to store the backup data into the on-premise storage repository, so the BDR Suite is the right product for them. So yeah, here you can see we have multiple solutions under this. The first one is the Vembu backup and replication for the VMware, and next one is the Vembu backup and replication for the Hyper-V. So these two products are for the virtualized environment. And the next one is the Vembu backup for Microsoft Windows. So it is for the physical environment. If you want to back up your workstations or servers, so you can back up using this Microsoft Windows. Then we have a backup for AWS. So we have backup for Microsoft 365. So we have backup for Google Workspace. This is the Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace for the SaaS environment. And then we have the backup for endpoints, where you can back up the file servers, or you can back up your endpoints, or you can back up the individual files and applications, business applications from your machine. Okay, so here you can see, right, the first VMware and Hyper-V backup. So both are agentless backup. So without installing any agent inside your VMware virtual machine or Hyper virtual machine, so you can take a backup of it, and you can store this backup data onto your storage repository. So the storage repository, it can be any local drive or you can use a NAS or SAN to store your backup data. So whatever the storage repository you have, so you can use that to store your backup data. And yeah, so apart from backup, so we also offer replication for the VMware and Hyper-V virtual machines. So both are agentless. So the backup and replication both are agentless. You're not going to install any agent inside the virtual machine. Okay, the recovery point objective and recovery time objective of this VMware and Hyper-V backup is starting at 15 minutes. So that means you'll be able to take a backup every 15 minutes interval, and if something goes wrong, you'll be able to restore the backup data within 15 minutes of time. So we have multiple recovery options. Pranav is going to show in the live demonstration. So you'll be able to restore the data within 15 minutes of time. Again, the next one is the Vembu backup for Microsoft Windows. So this is again this is an agent-based solution. So you need to install an agent inside the servers or workstation, and you can take an image level backup of it. So that's a bare metal backup. So that will backup, you can backup everything, that including the operating system, the files and folders, the application, everything will be backed up. If something goes wrong, again, yeah, we support bare metal recovery, so you can restore the backup data to the same or new hardware, or else you can migrate the physical servers or workstation to a virtualized environment. Again, the recovery point objective for this is also 15 minutes, and the recovery point time objective is 15 minutes. Then we have this backup for AWS. So if you have a EC2 instance running in any region of AWS, so you can take a backup of it using Vembu. If something goes wrong, you can perform an instance level recovery, or you can just recover the individual volumes. Next, we have this backup for Microsoft 365. So you can back up your mailbox, contacts, calendars, the files and folders from OneDrive. You can back up your SharePoint Online, Teams Online, and Microsoft Groups. So yeah, you just take a backup of it and store the backup data into the local. If something goes wrong, so you can restore the backup data to the same user or to different user. That's up to your convenience and your requirement. Yeah, and similarly, like Microsoft 365, we also offer backup for Google Workspace. So again, you can back up your mailbox, contacts, calendars, and even the files and folders from OneDrive, Google Drive. Okay. Then we have some legacy solutions, like we support backup for your file servers. If you just want to back up your particular files and folders from your file servers, so you can just take a backup of it. Or else if you want to back up your NAS files and folders from NAS, you can back up using this backup of file servers. Then we have this backup for endpoints. So if you have a workstation, so if you want to set up an automated backup for the files and folders or the entire computer, entire workstation, so you can set up using this backup for endpoints. And yeah, you can also back up your applications if you're running Microsoft Exchange or SQL, SharePoint, Outlook, or MySQL. If you run any of these applications, so you can take a backup of it. It's application level backup of these applications. Yeah, in future we are going to support other applications also. So this is the Vembu BDR Suite. Yeah, so you can take a backup and store the backup data into the on-premise storage repository, and optionally you can take it to offsite or cloud. So that's a second copy. So we will see that in later. So and the second products from Vembu is the Vembu Cloud BDR Suite. So the Vembu Cloud BDR Suite is a recent launch from Vembu. So this Vembu Cloud BDR Suite is designed in such a way, so you don't need to have any on-premise infrastructure deployments. So you just sign up for Vembu Cloud account, you take a backup, the backup data will directly go and get stored into Vembu Cloud. So this is a cloud space maintained by Vembu. So all your backup data will go and get stored there. So again, we have multiple solutions in here. As this is a recent launch, so we have a very less number of solutions. And yeah, so eventually in the upcoming versions of this Cloud BDR Suite, so you can see a lot of products coming, a lot of solutions coming into this. Okay, first we have the backup of file server. So if you have a file server, if you want to back up the files and folders from these file server, and if you want to directly take a backup to cloud, so you can do that using Vembu Cloud BDR Suite. Then we have a cloud backup for endpoints. Again, you can take a backup of the applications. Here, if you want to back up the applications like Exchange, SQL, SharePoint, Outlook, and MySQL, so you can take a backup of it and store the backup data onto the Vembu Cloud. And yeah, again, you can take a backup for your AWS EC2 instance. If you are running EC2 instance in any region of AWS, so you can take a backup and you can store it on the Vembu cloud. Then we have this backup for 365, Microsoft 365, and backup for Google Workspace. Again, so this is not with this Vembu Cloud BDR Suite, you don't need any physical or virtual infrastructure in your on-premise. So you just go to Vembu Cloud account, create a cloud account for you, and we'll provide the client. So using this clients, you can create a backup for your endpoints and file servers, and you can create a backup for AWS, Microsoft 365, and Google Workspace directly from this Cloud BDR Suite user interface. So I mentioned, right, so your data are getting stored in Vembu Cloud. So Vembu Cloud, I mean, it's a Vembu Cloud is based on AWS. So we have a server running in different region of AWS. So if you configure a backup from your region, so the data will go and get stored in the nearest AWS data center. Okay, so we have 4 data centers across the globe. So the data will go and get stored in the nearest data center. Okay, so this is the Vembu Cloud BDR Suite. So these are the 2 major product line the Vembu offers. And yeah, so apart from the on-premise backup, Vembu also offers secondary copy. So we have 2 options to store the secondary copy. The first one is the Vembu offsite DR. So this Vembu offsite DR is for the users who have a offsite location. For example, if I have a secondary site, if I have my own infrastructure, if I want to use it to store the secondary copy, then I can opt for Vembu offsite DR. So Vembu offsite DR is another piece of software so that you need to install it on the second location, and you can configure replication. So the data will be replicated from the primary backup server to this secondary offsite DR server. If something goes wrong with the primary server, you can just log into the offsite DR server and you'll be able to restore the data from there. So the Vembu offsite DR server supports all the recovery options similar to that of the primary backup server. And yeah, so it can be in the same network, or you can set up this offsite DR in a different network in a different physical location. Okay, so if you are going to deploy it in a different region or different physical location, so we have this automated WAN optimized data transfer. Okay, and yeah, so even if there is a lot of network interruption, so we have this option of sending the data from where it left off. So yeah, so we have a lot of options in transferring the data, and you can also see the data. For example, you can initially see the full backup, and later the incremental will be sent over the WAN. So that's the Vembu offsite DR. And the second one is the Vembu Cloud DR. So Vembu Cloud DR is for the users who want to store this secondary copy in the cloud. So this is a hybrid deployment where you have one copy of data at the local data center, and the secondary copy you can send it to Vembu Cloud. That means it's a Vembu maintained cloud service which is based on AWS. So you can send a copy of backup data to Vembu Cloud. So again, all your backup data is encrypted both during the transfer and also at the storage in the Vembu Cloud. So yeah, if something goes wrong, so you can just log into Vembu Cloud DR account and you'll be able to restore the data anywhere at any time. And it's a WAN accelerated data transfer, and you have multiple options to recover the data. You can just recover the individual files and folders, or you can recover the entire image from this Vembu server, Vembu Cloud DR server. Okay, so these are the secondary copies, option for the secondary copies. Okay, so in the upcoming versions of Vembu, so we are also bringing a lot more option in setting up the secondary copies. So this is the architecture. So here you can see the primary component of the Vembu BDR Suite is the Vembu BDR backup server that you can see in the center. So this is the management server. So this management server, you can deploy it in multiple ways. You can go for the Windows installation, or you can go for Linux installation. You can also deploy this as a Docker in your as a container in your Docker. So once you deploy the backup server, here you can see without using any agent or client. So you can configure the backup for the VMware virtual machines, Hyper-V virtual machines, Windows servers and workstation. You configure the backup for AWS, Microsoft 365, and Google Workspace. No agent is required. From the Vembu BDR user interface itself, so you can configure the backup for these entities. For the file server or application level backup, so we have a separate client. So these clients are available for Windows, Linux, and Mac operating systems. So you can just download this client and install it on your computer and take a backup. Again, so all the backup data will come to this backup server. So you need to have a storage repository connected to this backup server. Your backup data will go and get stored over there. So this is the primary copy. And the secondary copy, so if you wish to have a second copy for DR purpose, then you can set up this. So you can set up Vembu offset DR. So if you have your own infrastructure, if you want to store this backup data in your own infrastructure maintained by you, then you can opt for the Vembu offset DR. Or else if you don't have a second location, or if you want to set up a hybrid deployment, like one copy at local and second copy at public cloud, then you can opt for Vembu Cloud DR. So this is the prime Vembu BDR server is the primary component, and the Vembu offset DR is the secondary component, which is optional, or the Vembu Cloud DR. Again, this is an optional hybrid setup. So here we have this Vembu portal. So the Vembu portal is for the license management. So this is a portal. So all your backup servers will get connected to this Vembu portal from a single and centralized portal. So you can manage the license for all the backup server installations. Okay, so this is the minimal architecture of the Vembu BDR Suite. So now let's see the key features. So before seeing the new features that are coming in the version 5.0, so I just like to give an overview of the key features of Vembu BDR Suite. Okay. The first one is the recovery point objective and the recovery time objective. So like I said earlier, the recovery point objective and the recovery time objective of Vembu is 15 minutes. That means you can take the incremental backup every 15 minutes. And if something goes wrong, you'll be able to restore the backup data within 15 minutes of time. Okay. Then we have this efficient storage management technologies. So Vembu is the only backup software in this world have a own patented file system to store the backup data efficiently. So we have this file system called Vembu Hive. So it's a patented file system. So using this file system, so you can efficiently store the backup data. So because of this file system, the backups are faster and also the restore are faster. So that's efficiently storing the backup data. And yeah, so compared to other software, so the storage requirement to store the backup data is comparatively less, and yeah, it's faster. Then we have this native tape backup support. So if you want to archive a copy of backup data, if you want to archive data for a long-term use, then we support the tape archival. So you can use the LTO3 and above tape medias to archive a copy of your backup data. Then we have this offset copies and DR copies. So if you have it, that's a secondary copy. So if you have your own offsite infrastructure, you can set up the Vembu offset DR, or you can send a copy of backup data to Vembu Cloud. So that's an offset copy. And the next one is we have this inbuilt compression. So all your backup data is compressed to store a lot of storage space. Okay, then we have this inbuilt compression. We have this inbuilt encryption. So all your backup data is encrypted using AES 256-bit encryption algorithm, both during the transfer and also at the storage. So we also have an option to set up your own password to encrypt the data blocks. Okay, that's also available. And we have this very intuitive and extensive reporting. So if you take a backup, so you can see all the details. So when the backup was started, so how much of time it took, and what is the actual size of the data, what is the space that is occupying in the storage repository. So you'll see a lot of extensive details in the reporting sections of Vembu. Yeah, and we also, the last one is the verification. So we have a 3-tier verification to check the recoverability of the backup data. So you take a backup. So how you check whether this backup data is recoverable or not? So Vembu has a own mechanism to do this. So we have a 3-tier verification where we'll check the integrity of the data. Second, we'll mount the data. After mounting, we'll try to boot the data and send the screenshot to you. So by seeing these details, you can check whether this backup data is recoverable or not. So that's a 3-tier verification. Okay, so yeah, with this, we'll just directly jump into the features that are coming in the version 5.0. So as I said earlier, so this 5.0 release, we focused more on improving the comprehensiveness of the overall solution. Okay, so we try to bring, so okay, now over the last few versions, so we are working on this, and yeah, so we are bringing in, you can witness more comprehensiveness in the solution. Yeah, I mean, in a single user interface, a single simple and clutter-free user interface, so you can configure the backup for your entire IT environment. Like you can configure backup for your virtual, physical, SaaS, and everything, cloud-based workloads, everything you configure from a single and centralized user interface. Yeah, so the development for this Vembu 5.0 is started by collecting the feature requests from our customers, our partners, and also we try to keep up with the advanced trends in this backup and disaster recovery market. So we collected this feature and we started working on this feature, and you can see us now seeing the outcome of it. So that's our version 5.0. So these are the features that we are bringing in this 5.0 release. I just collected some of the features. So there are a lot of features that you can see once this product is released. So the main features are, the first is a instant boot live migration. So Vembu is having an option called instant boot. If you can take a backup of your physical or virtual machine. If something goes wrong, so you can perform this instant boot. So that means from the backup storage repository itself, the data will get booted. Okay, and yeah, it will take almost within a couple of minutes, you'll be able to make this backup data up and running, and you can do this instant boot VM as a your main production VM, and you can do all the changes on this instant boot VM. So this is the instant boot recovery. This is how the instant boot recovery works. With this 5.0 release, so we are bringing in an option to migrate the instant boot VM directly to your production. So with all the changes that you have made on the instant boot session, so you can now take this instant boot, instantly booted virtual machine directly to the production environment. Okay, it's a permanent migration. So whether it is a physical machine, VMware virtual machine, or Hyper-V virtual machine, or physical machine, if you perform this instant boot, so you can do all the changes on the instant boot. So once your work is done, you can in the background, so you can perform this live migration. With all the changes that you have made, it will migrate it to the production environment, and you can continue using it from your production environment. So that's an instant boot live migration. And the second is the parallel VM processing. So now we are bringing in and set up settings to configure the parallel VM processing. So previously, in the previous versions of Vembu, so only backup jobs can run in parallel, but the entities inside a backup job, like for example, if you create a backup job with 10 VMs, so the VMs are processed one by one. So after completing the backup of the first virtual machine or first disk, it will start the backup for the second virtual machine or second disk. But we are bringing this parallel processing, this version 5.0. Here we are giving a settings. We are giving this option to the users. You can set up how the parallel processing want to work. For example, you can specify the number of backup jobs you want to run, and you can also specify the number of entities that need to be processed parallelly in each and every backup job. So that's a parallel processing. Third, we are bringing in the drive rotation. So if you're having multiple external hard drives, and if you want to store the backup data into these hard drive, and if you want to swap them on regular basis, you can use it using drive rotation. So it's much simpler than ever. Okay. Then we are bringing in the backup job templates. So if you have a frequently used backup configuration, so if you want to simplify this backup job creation, so you can use this backup job template. So in this backup job template, so you can store all the pre-configured settings. So you can create multiple templates when creating a backup for your virtual machines or physical machines. So you can just use this template. So when you use this template, the backup configurations are loaded from these templates, and yes, you can create a backup job in just 1 or 2 clicks. So that's the backup job template. So this is used for the customers who creates a lot of backup jobs in a day, so they can use this backup job templates. And the next is a Barrett left-off. Okay, so the Barrett left-off is one of the important feature. So this is for the customers or user who are facing a lot of network issues. So in the versions of Vembu, if there is a network interruption, we'll wait for some time, and if the connection is not established, we'll close the connection. And when the next schedule comes, the data will be sent from the first again. For example, if you're transferring a 1 terabyte of data, if the backup gets interrupted after transferring a 500 GB, so we'll wait for 30 minutes. If the connection is not established within 30 minutes, so we'll just fail this backup job in the next schedule. So we'll try to send another from the scratch. So 1 TB of data will be sent again. But in version 5.0, so this is not going to happen. So if there is any interruption during the data transfer, so we'll close, and in the next schedule, the success schedule, so only it will send from Barrett left, the previous schedule, backup schedule. Okay. So that is the Barrett left-off feature. And the second one is the synthetic full backup. Okay, synthetic full backups, you can create multiple synthetic full backups by merging the previous incremental and full backups together. So instead of creating a new snapshot or taking a full backup again, so you can make use of the previous full backup and incremental. You can merge it together on a periodical manner and create a synthetic full backup. So this saves a lot of time, and this also saves a lot of bandwidth. So and the next one is a Gfs retention. So Vembu is already having a Gfs retention. We have this advanced retention option that will merge this data periodically, like daily, weekly, or monthly. But in the version 5.0, so we are bringing in a lot of options to this Gfs retention. So you can create restore points on weekly, monthly, quarterly, or yearly basis, and you can specify a different retention policy for each and recovery points, like Gfs recovery points. You can create this Gfs retention by merging the data with the previous incremental or with the previously created full backups. So yeah, we are bringing a lot of granularity in creating this Gfs retention points. And the next is the multi-host backup. So this is one of my favorite feature in this version 5.0. So this feature allow you to add multiple hosts to the backup server. And if you had multiple hosts, so you can create a backup job by selecting the entities from the different hosts. So assume that you're having some 3 or 4 ESXi added to this backup server. So you can create a backup job by selecting the VMs from different ESXi hosts. So 2 VMs from the ESXi1 and 3 VMs from ESXi2, and again 2 VMs from ESXi3. So you can select multiple VMs from different hosts and create a single backup job for it. So previously, if you want to create a single backup job with VMs from different hosts, so you have to make use of the vCenter. But yeah, so here you don't need to have vCenter anymore. Just add all the ESXi's, the Vembu backup server, and you can create a backup job by selecting the multiple VMs from the different hosts. So there's a multiple host backup. And the next one is, again, this is one of the most awaited feature from Vembu, Hyper-V replication. So previously we have this replication only for the VMware virtual machines. So you can replicate the VMware virtual machines from one ESXi host to another ESXi host. This version 5.0 brings option to replicate your Hyper-V virtual machines. If you have different Hyper-V servers, so you can set up a replication where the Hyper-V VMs from the source VM will automatically get replicated to the target. So you can set up this replication, and this replication frequency for this Hyper-V VMs is starting from 15 minutes. So next one is application item level recovery. Yeah, so previously in the older versions of Vembu also you have this application item level recovery, but yeah, it requires a separate installation. So you need to install this Vembu granular recovery tool, and then you have to mount it, and you have to mount this browse this data from this granular universal recovery tool, and you have to perform this application item level recovery. But we made it more simple in this version 5.0. So you don't need the granular recovery tool anymore. From the Vembu recovery user interface, so you can just select the application you want to perform the granular recovery, and you can do it from the user interface, Vembu backup server user interface itself. You don't need any third a second tool or a separate installation to perform this granular recovery. And the next is, so we are bringing in the support for SharePoint online backup and Teams backup. So using this, so you can backup, you can add multiple Office 365 organizations, and you can backup the SharePoint Teams, SharePoint online items, SharePoint sites, and Team online contents. Then yeah, so we start to support Google Workspace backup. So from the version 5.0, so you can add your Google Workspace account to the backup server, and you can create a backup for your mailbox. So you can backup your mailbox, contacts, calendars, and even the files and folders from OneDrive. Okay. So these are the new features. These are some of the major features that are coming in the version 5.0. And here you can see the next slide. You can see the list of enhancements that are coming in version 5.0. So yeah, so this is one of the customer requested feature. So if the users want to initiate a restore when the backup is in progress, so now they can do it. And now the backup and the offset copies can run in parallel. And yeah, as I said in the previous slides, so we focused more on bringing the comprehensiveness. So we did a major improvement in the UI and UX of this Vembu BDR server, so that you can see in sometimes now. Then we have this a recovery option that will allow you to restore the original configuration of the Hyper-V. So previously you have to manually configure the configurations for the Hyper-V restores. Now we will just take this original configuration, and we have the backup window setting. So at backup job level. So previously, the backup window setting is applicable for the entire backup server. If you set up a backup window, so the backup will not run. Now, so you can set up this backup window at each and every backup job level. For example, if you don't want a backup job to run at a specific time, so you can do the setting when creating a backup job itself. And we have this backup throttling support in the backup server. And we are now start to support the file level recovery for the dynamic disk. So previously the file level recovery supported only for the basic disk. Now you can perform the file level recovery for the dynamic disk also. And yeah, so we are also bringing in option in the user interface to disable the compression and encryption. So this is more useful for the users who want to make use of a hardware level duplication. Maybe if you are using a Dell data domain or HP storage appliances, so these hardware devices comes with the native deduplication and compression. So if you want to leverage on these native deduplication and compression of these hardware devices, so Vembu is having an option with a single click, so you can just disable the entire compression and encryption, and you can leverage on the hardware level compression where you are going to store this backup data. So these are the enhancements that are coming in version 5.0. Yeah, and yeah, so with this, so these are the features that are coming in. So with this, I'm just going to hand over this session to Mr. Pranav. So he's having a demo setup of Vembu version 5.0. So he will just share his screen and show how Vembu version 5.0 works. So yeah, just wait and witness the Vembu 5.0 in action now. Pranav, so you can take this session from now. Yeah, I can see your screen now.
Yeah, Nivesh, thank you. So, am I audible, Nivesh?
Yeah, Pranav, your voice is clear.
Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Pranav from the product management team of Vembu. So, as Nivesh stated, I think you all had a sneak peek into Vembu BDR. Now, we'll just have a complete, a demo of how this product is going to be, because we are nearing to our general release, which is going to happen in a couple of months from now. We are actually counting the dates for release. So we already have released the beta build of Vembu BDR version 5.0. It's already in our website, so you can download it from our website. It's a beta build, and we'll be releasing an RC build. Our release client will be released within a couple of weeks or days from now. So yeah, so this what I'm showing you is actually a preview build of the RC build. Maybe you can take it in that way. It's just a preview build of RC build, which is actually the preview build of the version 5.0 general release. Okay, so I've installed this on a Windows server. So as per the Vembu is concerned, this application is completely based on a web-based console. So we have the things completely on your web server itself. So you just need to, you can install your backup server, install this Vembu BDR backup server on a server operating system. Either it could be Windows or Linux. So now I have installed it on Windows. So you could see, like, I'll just type in my IP address of the machine of my backup server with 6060 is my port number. So using this, I can log into my backup server. So generally, I can log in with the default username and password as stated here. It is admin and admin. So I'm just logging in with that. Once I log in, initially there will be a pop-up that will ask me, like after my installation, it will ask me to give an unique BDR ID name. So I've already given it a shot. So here is the BDR ID, and then once the reason for giving a BDR ID is because with this ID or a name, with this BDR name, you will be identified in your portal when you register with the portal account. So this is how your BDR backup server will be identified when you are registering with the portal account, so that we actually collect a name. It can be anything. Your BDR ID could be anything that you use. Okay. So after immediately done with the BDR ID, the immediate step is my backup repository. So before I add a data source, or I take a backup, my first initial step is, like, I have to configure a backup repository. So as of now, we have configuration for block storage. Soon we'll be releasing it for object storage also. But if not in version 5.0, we'll be releasing it in version 5.1, which is an update of 5.0, will be coming immediately. Okay, so in this block storage, the first thing is you can click on create new block storage repository. So you can use any storage item. It could be your DAS, that is your directly attached storage. It could be your NAS drive or your SAN drive that you could use. So for all your network attached drive, you can just click on add network drive as storage volume option, where you will have all the network drive option to be listed. So you can just click on I understand, read through the important recommendations, just click on I understand, and then you can give the drive path name. So make sure that the drive path is being identified by your server. Okay, you can just check it in your with the run option. So you just give that drive path name over here, and then you have to give a display name, that is a drive name to that path that you are adding it. So it could be like the general one, like GF or whichever drive that you're going to give it, because the backup server will identify it as a volume. So that's why we are asking to give you a drive name over here. After that, if recommended, I mean, if you ask for username and password, you can just give that username and password and save it. Once you save, the added repository or the added storage of NAS or the SAN will be listed as a storage volume and as a section. Now here the storage volumes you can now I'll before talking about this, I have to mention something called as simple scale out and disk rotation options. Now, seeing on scale out, see, if you are adding a NAS drive and you want to expand it, you want to scale out the repository whenever it is needed or whenever it is getting full, then you can click on scale out and choose one or two volumes together and create you can pull in two volumes together and create a backup repository. So that is one type. That is what your scale out type is all about. And another type is the simple type, in which even the dial changes. So in which you will be able to select only one. If you select another one, you won't be able to pull, you'll just move on to another one. So this is like a simple drive. So it has its storage, it has its storage space fixed. You can scale it up whenever it is needed. Now, in case of disk rotation, as Nimaz has stated before, the disk rotation is like you'll have two external disks where you could swap your disk at regular intervals of period. So whenever you try to swap, there will be a full backup that will be created in each time that when you snap or swap to a new disk. So that is what the disk rotation is all about. So the disk rotation repository, it is like you can use it only for the backup for your virtual environment, your physical environment backup, that is your Windows image backup, and then your file and folder level backup. You can't use this for your SaaS application backup, as that is like a Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace backup. Okay, and even you won't be having this option in your offsite DR site, so you will be having only in your BDR backup server. So with this, you can create a repository. So you can create n number of repository, whichever the option that you got for. So you can choose n number of repository and make sure and be selected on which backup job should deposit on which repository. Okay, so and you can set which one to be the default one as well by creating more repositories. And here there's an option called disable compression and encryption, which Nivas was stating you before in his enhancements section. So that is like, if for example you are using an storage appliance, then you can just go for this option. Yeah, you can just disable the compression and encryption that is offered by the backup software itself. So what happens is this backup server will give the data as a raw format. So the backed up raw format. So your appliance will do all the rest of your compression and encryption. So this is what your storage repository, which is the main part of your backup server. So once done, I have already created one is of scale out repository, but I have used only one volume. When it is completely filled, like the total space is 102 GB. So I've already used some, so I'm left out with 56.95. So in case if even this is filled up, I can just add another volume to it, and I can keep on extending it. Whereas my simple volume, which is 97.66, so if until 97.56 GB, I can use the data. After that, I can't use this storage. So this is what it is all about. Okay, and you can manage all your network drives that you're creating here, could be managed directly from this section. Okay, so this is what your backup repository is all about. You'll find that in the BDR infrastructure tab. And next immediately is you have to take the backup. That is your backup job configuration. For that, you need to add the host. For example, if I could consider like you are taking a backup of your VMware or a Hyper-V, you have to add the host to the backup server. So only then the connection between the backup server and the host gets established, and it can take a backup of the virtual machines which you're trying to take a backup. So here we have the data sources separated. So you can add your ESXi or vCenter, that is for your VMware backups. And if you want to go through a backup proxy, you can even go through a backup proxy for VMware alone. So, and then you have your Microsoft Hyper-V, where we support your Microsoft Hyper-V clusters, your standalone host, and SMB hosts, SMB servers as well. So whichever the option like you want to add it, you can add it. Okay, that is what your add Microsoft Hyper-V section gives you through this. You just add the host on here. After that, you have for example, if you're taking a physical Windows machine backup, it could be either a Windows server or a workstation, then you can add that detail through this add Microsoft Windows server. More or less, the addition of data sources, that either it could be a VMware, Hyper-V, or Microsoft Windows, more or less it's going to be the same. Not much of a difference you can find in this session. So if, for example, if I'm going to add a VMware Vsphere, I'll just click on ESXi and vCenter. So I'm just adding it. I've already added some. So if I want to add, I'll just click on add ESXi or vCenter. This is the type which I already have. If I'm going to add a vCenter, then I can click on vCenter. If I'm adding a ESXi, I'm just adding a ESXi host here. So you can either identify your host through a DNS name, that is fully qualified domain name, or through an IP address. You can just add the IP address of the host and the credentials. Always go with an administrator credentials. So that is what it is more required for any of the hosts that you're going to add to this BDR backup server. So you can just give the credential name just for the identification of the credentials, and then the username of the host and the password for the host. So once you save it, automatically you could see like your VMware vCenter or VMware ESXi host or the vCenter host would be added to your backup server. So added to the backup server, I have totally, like, I could check on the total number of VMs, how many VMs I have backed up, how many I have replicated. All these details will be listed down in this data sources section itself. And this is the same even for your Hyper-V. If you're going to add a Hyper-V cluster, just click on Hyper-V cluster. You can add your Hyper-V cluster over here. And I've already added some for Hyper-V standalone servers. So you can just click on the Hyper-V standalone servers, and again in this it's the same. More or less, like even for Microsoft Windows, the same as how you added for Hyper-V is going to be the same for the disk image backup also. So this is how you add your data sources to the backup server. Once done, you can just go check on the configuration part of your backup. So click on the backup part. You can just go configure your backup jobs. You can either go configure the VMware Vsphere, Microsoft Hyper-V, or Microsoft Windows in this session. So the backup is going to be completely an image-based backup. So all these three are similar. The only thing over here is instead of listing, like since here you have added the host, you will be listed with all the virtual machines under host. In here you added the complete machine, like Windows, physical Windows server or a Windows workstation. It will list down all the disks. So that is why we call this Microsoft Windows as disk image level backup. So that's the main difference between all these configuration part. So when I click on VMware Vsphere, so either I can go with the backup job template. So I can, as stated before, that was one of a new feature to version 5.0. So I can just go with this template. So if I have a predefined SLAs for my backups, so I can go with that. So I have already created a template. For example, I can create my template by clicking on backup. Here I have manage backup job template, and click on create new backup job template. So in this section, I can create a new backup job template from here. And once I created a new backup job template, then I can use that template. Like here's my template, so I can use that template for configure my rest of the process, because it is all predefined. I can just give the backup job name, I can select the particular virtual machine, and I can continue. So this is what the backup job template does. If I'm not going to use a template, then it's going to be the manual process. For example, I am just have to add an backup job name, like for example, I'm just going to give test. So this is going to be the VMware backup configuration. I've already added the host, and here I can select to which backup repository this backup job should go and deposit on. So I had two, so I can go with an default volume, or I can just choose another one. Okay, so here is my backup repository, and if I want to add a new backup repository, I can create a new by clicking on add backup repository from this session. On a next, I can choose a backup, I can choose the virtual machines or the host which I am trying to take a backup. So as Nivas has stated, like multi-host backups. So you can choose either the like multi-host, either the complete host of together. You don't have to even search for a vCenter over here. You can take a complete host, or you can specifically choose certain virtual machines from a host, from different hosts, whichever you're going to take. So here with this, you'll be able to group your virtual machines based on the criticalities that it is required. You can add any number of hosts with that, and you can continue to take a backup of it. On our next immediate step is disk exclusions. For example, in this step, you can exclude the disk. You can either go with only the system disk, or you can exclude any particular disk, and you can choose for which virtual machine you want to do that. So you can just click on exclude disk, and if I'm going to choose like include only system disk and exclude all other typical disk, it will exclude all other disk, and system only the system disk like C and Z will be included. And then I can choose this option, exclude the following disk, and choose whether my disk is an IDE and make sure that disk is excluded, or if it is an SCSI, I can exclude that particular disk, or through a SATA I can exclude that particular disk of that option. So for this, I can be more specific enough in this case. So only for this particular backup job, for a particular VM, I can just need to include only my system disk, and rest let it go with the normal. So all these can be configured in this section. Okay. So and the next is my guest processing. So in my guest processing, I get to see all my app-aware details, so which could be configured. I'm sorry for this. I actually configured more number of details. So let me choose one and show you for this demo. Yeah. So I'm sorry. So in guest processing is generally about the app aware. So in app aware, what we do is, if you're running any virtual machines of applications running on it, either it could be a Microsoft application. So we'll make sure that application is consistent by making the the VSS writer, the application writer is consistent, and then we take a snap of it. That is how we configure the app aware. So along with that, we can even take the log truncation in that manner. I'm sorry, I just moved forward. I'm just showing you with that detail. Okay, this here you select the virtual machine to take a backup, and then move forward. And here is my guest processing. So if I just want to enable the guest processing, I can just click on it and click on edit guest processing detail. So here you could see this app aware coming up. So if I go with a successful backup application processing, so what happens is, while taking a snap, it makes sure that my applications are consistent, so that I don't have any overlap while taking a snap, along with the log truncation that comes up with. And it can be done even for the Oracle machines. and even the file exclusion. Some of the system files like pagefile.sys and hyperfiles.sys will be omitted because it doesn't consume much of your backup space. So this is what your guest processing is all about. So once you enable the guest processing, you have this VMware squeezing. So it is generally enabled by default. And here is my flexible scheduling option. So much of the scheduling options has been introduced into this this scheduling part of version 5.0 of Vembu. So here you have, like, you can schedule to run every manually. So your backup frequency will be in manual basis, however you wish to run. And there is one time, so only once there will be a full backup taken, and then you can run it on every hourly basis. So as Nivas stated before in his presentation, you can schedule a backup job from every 15 minutes. So your RPO is from every 15 minutes and you can extend it to 2 hours. Okay. And there's another option, like you can schedule it on daily basis. In daily basis, you can schedule when or what all the days that you want to run the backup job, and you can even describe how many times in a day that you want to run a backup job. For example, I'm going to choose 2. I can set up a start time in the morning, and I can set up an start a second time of the start, like in the evening. Okay, so I can go with the exact date and time. Okay, so daily at this time you'll have 2 backup jobs coming up. So this is how your daily scheduling works, and here your weekly also works similar to that. So on every weekly, on whichever day that you choose, you can choose any multiple days here. So whichever days you choose, you can have a time set and your backups will be configured automatically at that time. And monthly basis, that's all also similar to your weekly and daily backups. And there's an option called after backup. For example, if you already have configured a backup job, and once that backup job is completed, you want to automatically trigger this backup job, then you can just choose whichever the backup job that you have choose before. For example, I've already choose a backup job of like single host, so that runs on daily 8 p.m. So once that backup job is completed, immediately the scheduled, the backup job which I'm trying to schedule now will trigger to start. After that, I have my synthetic full backup, which you can schedule it on weekly and monthly basis the same manner. And you have additional full backups. So if I want an additional full backup apart from the initial full backup, I can schedule it on weekly and daily, weekly and monthly basis. This is completely dependent on the time of scheduling that you choose it over here. Okay, and you have a generalized backup window. So you have a backup window even for every backup jobs that you configure. You can either go with the global settings, or you can use the custom settings for this backup job alone. And you have this backup validity. So this particular backup job that is created today can be expired in a particular chosen date, whichever you chose for. Okay, so that is how your scheduling part is going to be. And your retention. So you can there are 2 types of retention. That is, one is your basic retention and GFS retention. So in basic retention, you can set up to version type, which you can extend up to 999 versions. And there's also a day-based retention, like how many ever days that you choose, you can have minimum number of versions over that. And there's an advanced retention, which we also call it as GFS retention. So this GFS retention has 2 options. Either you can go with GFS with full backups as well as the GFS with incrementals. Okay, so GFS with full backups, you can retain it for weekly, your monthly, your quarterly, as well as on a yearly basis. And GFS for incrementals, it is only for incrementals, will go also to extend it to a year, similar to what you've seen. So in both of these cases, you have to choose any of your basic retention to enable your GFS retention to work on. Okay, so if you are not enabling this retention part, you will have all the versions of your backup jobs that has been created in your backup repository. And the next immediate step under the settings is the encryption option. So you can encrypt the data. Like generally, the data will be encrypted using AES 256-bit algorithm but still over that encrypted data you will have the privilege to add a password. So make sure without the password you can't edit the backup job, delete the backup job, or restore your backup data. So that is what the thing over here encryption is. You can, in this encryption you have two password options. Either you could go with system generated encryption key, so that you don't have to customize your password, it goes with the BDR server ID itself, or you have to go with a custom generated encryption key. If you give that encryption key or with your own custom generated one, make sure you don't forget it. Okay, and then you have your advanced settings. So if you want to go through a proxy, this is only for VMware. So if you enable a proxy, you can select a proxy from whichever the thing that you're going to use. So you can add the backup proxy through this section, or you can just leave this up and you can review the summary page. So once you review the summary page with all the details, you can check what the host that you have selected for backup by clicking on it. So once done, you can save this backup job by clicking on run this backup job immediately, because I have selected to run the backup job automatically from 9 p.m. So once I save it, if you want to run it, you can just click on this run immediately, so that the initial backup will be a full backup followed by my incremental at 9 p.m. daily, and I can save this backup job. Once saved, the backup job will be triggered. So the backup job that you have configured will be listed in this list backup job session. So I've already configured the backup job for Hyper-V and Windows Server. Okay, so all these configuration part is going to be similar. Now, not much of a change that you could see. And again, you can even have multi-host backup even for your Hyper-V and Microsoft Windows. So this is all from the backup part is all about. Okay, and the configuration for backup settings. So Nivas was telling you about the concurrent backups, like you can run your backup jobs parallelly. So that you can edit it from here. So you can choose how many backup jobs that you want to run parallelly, concurrently, and you can also choose within a backup job how many backups. For example, if you're choosing 5 virtual machines backup in one single backup job, you can choose how many tasks per backup job should go in. So all these can be updated in this session. Okay, so that is what your concurrent backups is all about. And next is data compression level. So in this data compression level, you have 3 set of compression ratios. That is, you can go with low, optimal, or high. By default, it will be in optimal, but now I have changed it to high. So once you set your compression and you can update it, once you update it, the data will be, your compression level will be set up. This is the global backup window. So once you choose on it, you can schedule your backup. You can schedule from which time to which time you don't want to run your backup jobs. Either you can follow that strict time period from all days or from Monday to Friday. So that's how the backup thing is all about. Configuration is all about. And you have this bandwidth throttling. So like in office hours, you just want to reduce on your resources of network, then you can use this bandwidth throttling option. And backup data integrity is what Nivas was telling about, the integrity check that happens every 24 hours. So for this, you make sure that your backup server is enabled with your like Hyper-V role if it is running on Windows, or if it is on Linux, make sure you have the KVM role enabled, so that at every 24 hours of interval there will be mount of the data that will be happening. Okay, so the backup data will be mounted automatically by the backup software, then it will be booted and the boot screen will be captured and stored. So that's what your backup data integrity check is all about. And this is what your backup section holds on. And there is something called as replication, that is only for your virtual environment. So once this is more of a if you're struck with a disaster, you can immediately make sure you can fail over to another host and make sure your virtual machine is running. And if your the deceased host is brought back to normal, you can just fail over, undo failover and bring back things to your old host itself. Okay, all that failover and failbacks can be taken through this VM replication section. And even in this VM replication, you have this VM replication window and bandwidth throttling to be enabled. And recovery, so for each and every backup job, there are about 6 recovery options, for example. So this is a backup job. Here in this section, I can see this original size and the compressed size. When I click on restore, I'll be able to see the recovery options. I can either choose for two virtual machines to be restored at a time. I'll have only 2 recovery options, that is full VM recovery and download VMs. Or else if I'm going to choose one at a time, so there'll be multiple recovery options that is popping up. One is instant boot VM, so you can instantly boot this backup data as a virtual machine on either a ESXi host or on a Hyper-V server. And that is what your instant boot is all about. This can be done instantly, okay? And this is a temporary type of restore option. And then we have this full VM recovery. So this is like moving a virtual machine from one host of VMware to another host of VMware, okay? So this comes for Hyper-V also. So that's going to be the similar, but there you'll be moving into a Hyper-V server. That's more of a permanent type of restore. And here disk mount. So here this is again a temporary type. It will instantly mount the data as a, you mount the backup data as disk to your BDR backup server. So you can do all your read-write options in that disk mount that is taking place. And the disk level recovery. This is only for VMware and Windows. You could see Windows disk image backup, not for Hyper-V. You will see this option. So this disk level recovery, you will be restore the individual disk and attach it to a targeted VM running on an ESXi host. And then you have this download VMs and disk. So with this option, whatever the type of backup that you have taken, you can download the VMs, the backup data in multiple virtual file formats. Either it could be downloaded as a VHD, VMDK, VHDX, flat VMDK, and in RAW formats. Okay, in 5 of the formats you can download it, and with that formats you can bring up the complete mission in the respective environment. And then you have this application item level recoveries for Exchange, SQL, Active Directory, and SharePoint. So this was previously through Universal Explorer tool. Now we have integrated directly in the UI itself. And we have the file level recovery. So this is more of a granular. So you can restore only particular files and folders from the complete image level backup that you have taken. So this is more of which would help you to achieve RTO, which is less than 15 minutes. Okay, so this is the other recovery options is also going to be the similar one. So as I've already told you, like once I instantly boot my data, the live migration of that data, like once that, since it is a temporarily instant boot is a temporary option, I just want that changes that I'm making it in the temporarily booted data as a permanent VM. Then I can go for an option called manage instantly booted VM. So in this option, the instantly booted VM on an ESXi host can be migrated completely as a permanent VM, so that it will cut its ties with the backup server and it will act as a independent virtual machine on an ESXi host. Using this migrate option, you can do that all the process. And yeah, and you have this exclusive reporting section where you can check on all the reports of recent jobs that has been taking place, and you can even download these reports and you can even send this as an email notification. So for that, you have to enable this email notification section with the reports. So all your details with VM host and data recovery details will all be listed in this report section. This is more pretty much of all the VMware, Hyper-V, and Windows image backup that is happening. And the rest is the AWS backup. In the same backup server, here you have an option for your AWS. So that's why we call this as a single whole control tool. Okay. So in this AWS, you just need to add your add AWS account. So that is like adding your data sources. Like if you add this AWS account, you can just follow the steps that is of prerequisite I've given here. Add this host with the access key ID and the secret access key. Once you save it, you can you can take a backup of your cloud EC2 instance with the API, cloud API, cloud native APIs itself. Okay, so those instance will be backed up and you can store that locally in your environment. So that is what your AWS is all about. Sorry that I haven't configured for this, but because next week you will be having a similar webinar on AWS, Microsoft 365, and Google Workspace in a chain. So I'm just showing you the console of what all we have in this BDR backup server. So in this Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace backup, like the SaaS backup, so here you can add the data source. This is also similar. Like you can add the domain, the complete organization domain of Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace. Once you add the complete domain, you can take a backup at the domain level, or you can take a backup of the individual users. So in the individual users or the domain level, you can take a backup of your emails, contacts, the calendars, the OneDrive in case of Microsoft, and G Drive in case of Google Workspace. So that's how you can configure all your backups, and this is all also going to be your image level backup, and you can recover the data directly in this section. So these two on AWS and Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace backup will be you'll have a demo in your next webinar. And you have the file servers and endpoints and application type backup. So this, as Anivas was stating, this is through a client agent. So you have to download the client agent. So you can check that client agent download from this data sources. Click on download BDR client. So you have all the clients over here. You can preferably choose whichever client you need. You download the client, install the client on the particular machine, and you can back up the data from the client only. So the client will back up the data and it will send the data to the backup server, because the backup server is the storage point to dock its backup that it has taken. So here I've already installed a client in one of my machine. So all my file server backup, my endpoints backup, and application backup will be configured from that single client itself. So I've already done it through a client. So this is a client agent that I've installed on my Windows machine. So I've taken a file server backup. So this backup can be seen in my list jobs, and I can even recover the data at my backup server end. I can restore that file level restore of the backup that I've taken from my backup server end itself. And this restore can also be triggered at the client end. Okay, so that is what your detail is all about, and the reports for file server endpoints and applications will be shown in this report section. So this is pretty much sure of how things work in this file server and endpoints and application level backup, because it's all going through a client, and you can manage your video clients from this section itself. And here is a seeding option for your client level, that is your file level backup data that you're triggering from your client. And for VMware and Hyper-V, we also have a client. So for example, if yours is a distributed environment, in that case you can go for a client where you can download the client from the data sources, click on manage BDR clients and click on download BDR client. So in this you will have a client that will help you to take a backup of your VMware Hyper-V on Windows. Okay, so this is more like for load balancing, and it will only work out in your distributed environment. Otherwise you can just go with the normal backup server and configure things directly from the backup server itself. And you have offsite DR. To enable this offsite DR, you have to register your backup server with Vembu portal. Okay, so you have 30 days of free trial, but after that you can just register with Vembu portal to purchase all your licenses and details. And once done, you can configure all the details from the offsite DR section. So this is what your Vembu version 5.0 has for you. And these are the new features that is popping up. And rest of the things like parallel VM processing, that's what I said as concurrent backups. And later you can even concentrate on more of the complete UI change from your version 4.2 to this new version 5.0, and rest is all the enhancements that we have done. So there are new features that has been introduced. We have also included many of the enhancements related to the stability of the product and much more. So yeah, that's it from the the live demo session. So as I told you, in our website you have the details. You can download the beta version of the Vembu BDR version 5.0 and you can test it in your environment. Okay, and we'll be releasing the release client version of BDR version 5.0 soon, maybe in a week's time. So you can even try that for your environment. So yeah, I could see that there are questions that is dropping in, but at this point I just like to move on with Nivas. So yes, so the live demo is all completed. Now we have come to the end of the session. So there are some questions that is dropping in, but since we have already crossed the time limit, now we'll just end the session. But don't worry, all your questions will be answered. Our team members are answering it, and if not answered in this session, we'll be dropping you a mail within 48 hours from now. And you can find the recorded session, recorded video of this webinar in our website directly. So within 48 hours. Okay. So thank you everyone for attending the session, and Nivas, thank you so much for giving us a wonderful presentation before. So, and if you guys want to contact us, you can just contact us through the numbers displayed here. And you can also regarding the sales perspective things, you can contact our sales through Vembu-sales@vembu.com. Or if you want to have any during your evaluation you have any doubts or you want to clarify things, you can reach us at Vembu-support@vembu.com. So yes, Nivas, you have anything to say before we end up?
No, Pranav. So it's a very nice demo you gave. So everyone, so thanks for joining this webinar with us. So yeah, as Pranav said, so we have the beta ready, so you can just go to Vembu.com and you can download the Vembu beta from our website and you can start the evaluation. Okay, so yeah, so you can expect this to be released in a couple of weeks. So once the version 5.0 RC is released, so you can use it for your production use. So thank you everyone, thanks for your time and thanks for showing interest in Vembu, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.